I want to say good morning to all of you. I'm Lesley Jane Seymour, and I run CoveyClub. And I'm working with these wonderful people, Wendy and Dana, who you guys also have met unless you're new. We're calling them our Reinvention Coaches. And as I got CoveyClub up and going, many people came into my purview, obviously, because CoveyClub is a lot about change and women in change. I could have called it Women in Transition, but I decided that in this day and age, that could mean other things. So it could get confusing. And Dana Hilmer chased me down and said, let's do things together. And when I started getting involved with those guys, they are, I was skeptical. I was like, I've got 20,000 coaches in my purview. What can you do that's unique? Anyway, so we do all different types of things together. We did a retreat up at Mohonk Mountain for a small group, which is called Camp Reinvention, which you'll hear more about down the road. We also have it on the CoveyClub site and also campreinvention.com. And was a deep dive into really wanting to reinvent. And it was 3 days of hands-on and then 6 months of coaching afterwards, which we're still in the middle of. And I joined it myself, and because I have issues I need to deal with. When you're an entrepreneur, you can no longer blame the idiot who you work for, because you're the idiot you work for. And you have to find out that you have flaws that prevent you from doing certain things in your business. Anyway, so they are helping me through all of that. And I have to say, I was skeptical in the beginning, but I've become a big fan of coaching. And that's why we started these positive mornings as a service during this crazy wackadoodle time. And so I'm glad that you're all joining us. We wanted to be of service. We made them free for that reason. And we want to start your day out really nicely. So I hope that everybody can say hello in the chat space there. Say where you are, and say where you are on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being pretty much bummed out, and then 10 is good. I was just telling everybody I'm great now, but I wake up at like 3 in the morning having a lot of anxiety for some reason. I have to, really meditate my way back into going back to sleep. So I think I'm doing well, but I obviously have some things that I'm nervous about. We are finding more and more resources as we talk here, and as Wendy and Dana, who have much more education about how the brain works and all that, talk about all these things. We'll put them in the chat with links, but we'll also put them at CoveyClub. There's a page that we're creating which has all the links to all the books and everything, which I'm now downloading myself so I can read them because I don't know them all. So Marissa will put a link into the chat here that will contain that link so you can find it easily, or you can go to the site, to coveyclub.com, and look for it yourself. Under Positive Mornings, it will be there. And I just wanted to tell you, I'm creating a lot more programming since I have a captive audience, right? What better? We have a captive audience for CoveyClub. You're captive, I'm captive. So, so many of you have reached out. You're all experts in different things, and I'm thrilled because we've got a whole list of programming. We're going to try to do like about 4 evening events. We do them from 8 to 9 every during the week, 8 to 9 Eastern time. I'm on Central, so it's a little earlier for me. But it's people who have books and their book tours were canceled, or it's other programs that they can be beneficial with. So what's coming up right away is tonight from 8 to 9 Eastern time is Susan Sagan-Levitan, who is doing How Not to Stress Eat in Stressful Times. Not that anybody here is doing that, just in case you might think about it. And you're tempted. I saw that my husband just bought the big bag of Oreos when he did venture out to the supermarket. That's one way we deal. And she has ideas of how to help us through that. And then Sunday night, have another meditation, a guided meditation with my friend Kelly Ravoto, who's here. And it's really wonderful. Meditating together, there is a wonderful thing that happens. And she's been writing these meditations herself for 8 years. This one's called Breathing Through Uncertainty. And then I will post for you a list, Marissa will post for you a list at the end of this of the other things that are coming up that you can sign up for. And I'm constantly adding them. I have people who are doing flower arranging. I have people, a good friend who is all about how to brand yourself. These are all experts that are around me, and they're wanting to reach out to everybody and give you learning while we're all here. There's no reason why we can't learn and connect and be more. So right now I'm going to turn it over to the wonderful Wendy and Dana and thank them for becoming part of my world, because it really has made a difference for me. As you'll see by the end of this hour, it will make a difference for you. So there you go, and I will see you at the end.
Good morning, everyone. We're delighted to have a full group again today, and I'm so excited that we've got some new folks in with us, in addition to people who have been with us all the way since last Friday for Positive Mornings. Today, we're going to do a couple of things slightly different than we've done in the past. We've got a topic for you, as always, and we're going to talk about making the most of this challenging time today. And we're also going to sort of review the progress that we've made over this past 5 days. Because as we said yesterday, we've thrown a lot at you, and we want to make sure that you can take with you the things that resonate the most and that can do the most good for you in this moment. So we're going to do a little bit of both today. We've got some great conversation and tools and meditation and all of that. And this afternoon, all of the tools that we've delivered at the end of Positive Mornings, there'll be a PDF that I've made available. I'm sending that off to Lesley and Marissa today so that they can post it on that resource page, so that if you don't remember how to use the tool, as simple as they are, you can go back in and touch in on them. So far, we have learned the One Stone Meditation, which there's an MP3 of already up in the Resource Center. And it's a simple way of bringing your attention into the present moment, a practice that you can do with about 10 breaths, open eye meditation, directing your thoughts into the present moment. So when you're feeling like you're pulled into the past or into the future out of fear or rumination, tap into that One Stone tool, really, really useful. And the more often you use that and all of these tools, the more likely they are to become a new default for you, which helps in not just the day-to-day, but helps in these really ugly times where things get a little bit itchy. We also learned 5 for Focus. This is a great anxiety tool. So those moments where your head is, again, anxiety, you're in the past or and you're in the future, you're never in the present, when you're really, really anxious. It's a way of bringing yourself into the present moment and reducing anxiety. And it's just about breathing and noticing something that's present in the room with you. And you can use your body as well to do that. So 5 for Focus, great tool to tap into for that. Mindset Museum is an exercise of balancing your brain. We have a negativity bias. The things that your brain naturally stores are the 100% real negative things that have occurred in your life. Okay, we store those because we need to know to keep us safe what those negative things are. Your brain does not store the 100% real, not hearts and ponies, 100% real positive things that happen in your life, but you can train it to do that. What's more, if you train it to do that and create this little visual mindset museum in your mind, you've got this body of evidence to go back to when you're feeling scared, when you're feeling like, God, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I've got the power for this. You've got one place to go to with a body of evidence that, hell yes, I can. Here are all of the things in my life that I've achieved or that I've overcome against the odds. So Mindset Museum, great brain balancing tool that's available, that will be available for you on the resource page. Then we talked about, how do I want to show up every day? Showing up as that best self. Simple, simple tool for that. Every time you step through a doorway, let your mind ask the question, how do I want to show up on the other side of this? And envision that best self and let your actions just flow from that space. So how do I want to show up? Doorway tool, super simple thing. And we recommend that you do it even when you're stepping through a threshold that you're the only person on the other side. Show up as that best self for yourself every day, and you will naturally start to show up as that best self for others and with others. And then yesterday's tool was closer to or farther from. Another really simple way to organize your time, to organize your priorities. Once you know what your values are, what your best self is, several times a day, ask yourself the question, does this bring me closer to or farther from those things I really care about? And you'll see how quickly you start to filter out all of the nonsense in your life that doesn't really matter by asking yourself that simple question. Does it bring me closer to or farther from? So we're going to tie it all together for you today and talk about how to keep making the most of this really challenging time. And I'm going to give you to Dana now.
Awesome. Welcome, ladies. So in the middle of this challenging time, there is one gift that's coming out of it, and that is the gift of time. I think most of us are finding that we do have more time in some way to focus on the things that matter to us and to be intentional about how we want to be showing up in this time. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give you a little bit of a rundown overview of some of the things that we've talked on each of the mornings. So as Wendy had mentioned, last Friday, actually, it was International Day of Happiness. And for that reason, we focused on what are some of the things that you can do to elevate your positivity. And I'm just going to make this a really fast recap. But some of the things we talked about are being really intentional about about incorporating more positive experiences throughout your day. And to ask yourself the question, what am I looking forward to today? And if there's nothing you're looking forward to, and again, we're kind of confined to our homes right now, create it. And it can be something as simple as for 5 minutes, going out and feeling the sun on your face, or calling a friend, or whatever it happens to be. But to create those moments, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there throughout your day, to elevate your positivity. And that has a beautiful impact on lowering your stress and anxiety and increasing your ability to deal with anything. And obviously right now we need to be in that place, right? So the more intentional we are about increasing positive experiences, part of that is choosing what we want to focus on. That's probably one of the most powerful things we can do, is to be very intentional about what we focus on. And one of those things is gratitude, right? Focusing on the good that is in your life and being super intentional about that. And also really focusing on cultivating positive relationships. That is the number one determinant of all of our happiness, is the quality of our relationships. So really asking yourself every day, what can I do to focus and be more intentional about spending quality time with this person? Again, it could just be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It doesn't need to be a huge amount of time, but to be focused, to really listen, to really get to ask them questions, to get to know them, and likewise to be a little bit vulnerable yourself so they get to know you better. So then on Monday, we spoke about, I want to make sure I don't make this too long, my overview. On Monday, we spoke about being present and just the importance of being completely grounded in your moments. Ellen Langer, who is a researcher, she says that really mindfulness is all about making the moments count. And essentially that's all we have, is our moments. A lot of times we think our happiness is out there. When this coronavirus is over, when we, get that promotion, when we finally get the kitchen done, whatever it happens to be. But happiness really is within us, and it's within our ability to capture those moments, because that's really all that life is, and to make those moments count. Then on Tuesday, we talked about the narratives that we create in our heads. And again, this is the way our brain works. As Wendy mentioned, we have a negativity bias. That's what our brain does to keep us safe. It's going to hone in on those negative things. But for our brain to make sense of the world, we take situations that happen and we create stories out of it. And that's how we process things. So what we need to do is be super intentional to create the stories that are empowering for us. It's really easy to take facts of a situation and all of a sudden create, oh my gosh, these massive stories. And especially now, we're being bombarded with the news that is scary. We're being bombarded with things that are completely different and uncertain during this time. And all of us are feeling anxiety and stress and all that comes with it. So the more intentional we can be about kind of honing ourselves back and say, when we catch ourselves creating a story that's negative or spiraling into the future, to reel ourselves back and say, wait a minute here. What are the facts of the situation? I've been told that the United States, we have more cases of coronavirus than any place in the world, for example, scary fact. There are all sorts of scary stories we can create out of that. So grounded in the fact, we're not happy about it, but grounded in the fact, what is a story that we can create that will be more empowering to us? We have tools that are going to keep us safe. We know what to do to keep us safe. Our stores are staying open so we can eat, and they're doing it in a way that allows us to stay safe, right? So even though the facts aren't pretty in some cases, we can still decide on an interpretation that moves us forward. I'm stuck at home. Maybe it's a story you're telling yourself, but you could shift that to, I'm fortunate to be at home. At home, I'm safe. At home, I can spend time with the people I want to spend time with. At home, I can get things done that matter to me, right? So we can choose a story that moves us forward in the most empowering way. On Wednesday, we talked about showing up as your best self. And I love this conversation because we're all rock stars. There are these moments in our life where we know how amazing we are and we see that kind of glimpse of ourselves. And we really challenge each one of you to revisit times in your life when you really showed up as your best and to think about what are those qualities in yourself that are really great. And what was so wonderful to see is every single one of us has got this list of qualities that is amazing. And we just, first of all, need to remember that and own it. I think a lot of times we're like, oh yeah, that little thing, but that little thing that you can do, somebody else can't do, right? So we owned what it is that makes us great. And we challenged you to be intentional about how do you want to show up. So much of what we focus on is what we want to do in our life and the things we need to do. And we want to focus on how do we want to be. Because if you focus on how you want to be, the doing gets a lot easier, right? And you can be super intentional about how not only you show up for yourself, but how you show up for others. And then yesterday we talked about time and how we manage our time. And we approached it in a different way. Instead of focusing on productivity, and there's a lot of tools out there that focus on that, we chose to focus on alignment. Gandhi has a quote that's beautiful. He says, happiness is when what you think and what you say and what you do are in harmony. And I just love that quote. Happiness is when what you think and what you say and what you do are in harmony. So there's a beautiful alignment in that, right? So if you can be really clear on what your values are, on what is important to you, and that you're spending your time in a way that is aligned with those values. We also talked about some of those time sucks. I talked about my hair and blow drying my hair for zillions of hours of my life. Some of those things that you may look at, like, where am I spending my time? A lot of people mention social media and the news. There's things that are kind of drawing us. And all of a sudden we realize that half hour, that 1 hour that we spent each day on something that maybe didn't matter to us so much takes away from the things that we say that do. And so, as Wendy mentioned, asking yourself that question, is the way I'm spending my time moving me closer to or further from this thing that I say that I value so much? And so that's a little bit of a recap. And what I'd like to do now is just ask you, with each of these conversations that we've had, what is resonating most for you? What is it that you're applying to your life and that you're maybe seeing is making a difference for you this week? And if you could put that in the chat, we'd love to see.
And if you'd like to share, we'll unmute you. Just put me in the chat and we'll call on you.
I think it's really important always, and especially now, to focus on what is working well. And so, yeah, if you can reflect on what's resonating for you, what are you applying, what's working well. And again, put me in the chat. We'd love to hear, because we can all benefit and learn from each other.
We have a shy group this morning.
It is Friday. I'm sure we're all more tired, right? I saw your big, huge coffee.
Robin's being creative with her work.
Exercise. Staying
Pamela,
present.
woohoo, doing the threshold exercise.
Awesome.
Cynthia's doing stay present meditations.
Forces me to get dressed.
Choose your
attitude. Yeah, so huge. Lots of meditation. Susan says journaling. Kathleen, I just keep my head down and do the next thing.
Immediate diet, immediate fast from Robin.
Love
Sweet.
it.
Gretchen's doing the threshold exercise. I love it. All right, kids. So why the recap today? We've thrown a lot at you, and we want you to be able to use it to make the most of this change. Because brains hate change. Okay, it's the way that we're wired as humans. Our brains are wired to not like change. They don't like good change. They don't like bad change, because brains don't like what's unfamiliar. Okay, so whether or not the change is something like, well, if anyone has ever had a male in their life, men hate when women cut their hair, right? Or change their hair. They freak out like it's something in their physiology. Holy cow, I don't know if I recognize you. Unfamiliar, unfamiliar. It's a limbic response. We don't like change, okay? And change like this, that has some really serious repercussions, that is factually aligned with danger, the brain really doesn't like. But here's the thing. Change is the fuel of opportunity. All change, scary change, happy change, all change is the fuel of opportunity. And so we want you to use these grounding tools, because the only way to see opportunity when you're in a state of change, when your brain is in a state of unfamiliar, I'm going to pull back into my safest place. The only way to see opportunity and change is to feel grounded in yourself, to feel safe within yourself. So all of these tools and these things that we've talked about so far this week are the starting point in order to find opportunity. Make sense? Okay. So we're going to give you a little prompt today to give some thought. And I was watching in the chat that some folks are like cooking and having so much time to read and having time to do projects and time with their family, and others are around the clock working with Zoom meetings and all kinds of things, and the kids are home and it feels busier than ever. There is opportunity in both spaces. Doesn't matter which seat you're in, there's opportunity here because things are shifting. So we're going to challenge you to step out of the default right now. Here's what's going on in my life, or here's what's going on in my life. Step out of that default and look at what possibility exists for you. So here's the prompt. It is, Lesley gave me this, BC before Corona, AC after Corona. Okay, it is 2 weeks AC. Okay, so we're back into the groove. We've poked our heads out of our little badger holes and we're out in the world, whatever it looks like now. It's AC. We're back into our life, whatever it looks like now. What would you have done during this time so that when you poke your head out, 14 days AC, you are proud? you feel great about yourself. It can be tiny, it can be huge, doesn't matter. What matters is that you're intentional about what you've done during this time. That 14 days AC, man, you're proud of it. Okay, so we're gonna give you just a couple of seconds. I'm not gonna try the music thing again because that was it was an epic fail. So I'm not gonna try the music thing again. We're gonna give you just a couple of minutes to give it some thought. You can jot it down or give it some thought, and then we're gonna have you pop a me in the chat when you've got something, because we really want to hear what would make you proud.
As you're thinking, I wanted to share a quote that Rebecca shared, which I love. She says, "Fear is just creativity used for the wrong purpose." Love that. Usually our fear is just running off with these great creative stories, right? Love that.
Okay, we have a couple in the chat. Bridget Brown, would you be willing to tell us what you mean by creative writing that means nothing, that has nothing to do with work?
I can find you on my screen. Yeah, so I write plays, and I have about 3 ideas that have been floating around in my head for a really long time. And one of them is a Christmas themed one. So what better time to get started? I almost have to be bored to start writing, which is a really bad thing about it. So I'm hoping to get a little bored, as odd as that sounds.
Sweet. Okay. How about Heloise? Would you like to share? Heloise was walking her dogs earlier, so she might still be out.
Here, no, I'm
Oh, there you are.
I'm trying to unmute. I don't know if it works.
Yeah, we got you.
So we've been trying to play a card game or a new game every night. My kids, my son in particular, has this obsession with all these different crazy card games. But during our real lives, or after AC, they'll probably be too busy, or they'll be able to do other things, so they won't want to do that. So we've been trying to do that. And then, my son and I have been cooking dinner more together, which we try to do during real life anyway. And then I've been someone who has tried to meditate every day, and usually I feel like, I'm successful if I've done it 2 times or 3 times in the week, but I'm really hoping I can just make it an automatic part of my everyday life. And then, like everybody's saying, this has been a great time to reach out to friends. I'm usually fairly decent at that, but I don't know. We always say in New York City, like if you see someone every 6 months, then you're successful, right? If you connect with your best friend, or not your best friend, but some of your friends, sometimes it takes 6 months to connect. So hopefully those time periods won't be as long. People will, or I'll feel more, more natural at doing that sort of thing instead of having to make an appointment or whatever.
What's the value? What's the why behind all of that for you, Heloise?
I think connection, really. Obviously the family connection and the friends connection, and meditation is really the connection to yourself, right? And grounding yourself. So just and what you guys have been talking about, really being present, because it's so easy to, especially for me, like I'm somebody who, you know, oh, I'm called to duty. I've got to run to work. Like I just do things in such a, I don't want to say thoughtless because that's not it, but in such an automatic way sometimes. And I'm, you know, Lesley knows I came from a magazine background part of the time, and I do production. So I'm always reacting. And so I definitely want to become more intentional and less reactive.
Awesome.
So that would be my reason. And now I'll stop the noise so you guys can hear better.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Rebecca Kavanaugh, this is an interesting one. I'd love to hear about it if you're willing to share. That I have taken steps to be my best self, and I'm not afraid of who I am.
Sure. So I'm a corporate attorney. And so that sort of lends itself to being pretty serious most of the time. And I'm not really a serious person. I like to say that, you know, the career I chose put me as a type B personality into a type A world. And when we did the best self and we wrote down the qualities of who we thought that was when we were being our best self, I was like, you know, I never take any of those to work. You know, I'm constantly arguing my point. And most of the time I don't really care. I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, I have to protect the organization. I have to make sure that everything is going the way we think it should go and that there's no undue risk. And while I am a risk averse person generally in my life, I haven't met a rule I didn't like. It's one of those things where I feel like, you know, I would like to be the person that when people see me at work, they're like, hey, there's Rebecca, let's talk to her. Because I think I'm a nice person and I really am kind of fun to hang out with. My friends tell me that. But I feel like when I go to work, I'm really just, and it's sometimes suffocating, and it's one of those things where I just a lot of times think, why did I choose this? And part of me knows the reason I chose this was because I wanted a comfortable lifestyle, and I have that. But, you know, I go spend 8 hours, 10 hours a day in a place where I feel like I'm not being me. So sometimes that's hard. So when I really think about this, I'm like, you know, why couldn't I take one or two of those things? And why couldn't I make that? I mean, I started the job that I'm in about not quite a year ago. So I moved and I have this new do-over, and I feel like, okay, well, why didn't I do that? I should have taken this opportunity to say, okay, at my last job, this is who I was, and that's fine. And I have a lot of good qualities in that, but let's bring something else to this. So now I feel like, okay, well, wait a minute. We've been away from everybody now for who knows how long. So why not go in and just take a couple of these qualities and say, look, you know, this is who I really am. Like it or don't. I'm far enough in my career now that I'm like, nah, I'm not going to get fired for being nice to people. So why not try it?
Oh, what a beautiful comment. You know, it's interesting too. The more you bring more of those qualities to work, more of who you are, you're also going to be giving permission to the other people to do the same. Chances are those around you are probably feeling the same way as well, right?
Yep.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. It sounds like you'll have a lot more fun too.
I hope so.
And it's really, Rebecca, that's the perfect opportunity. It's the perfect example of opportunity and change, right? You saw, holy cow, there was an opportunity when I changed jobs to make this, the opportunity there to change more than just the job, but we miss it. We miss it because we're in the default. And now this second change is giving her the opportunity to say, hey, wait a minute, there's time. This is the time to do something new. We can always lean into something new. Thank you for sharing that, Rebecca. That's gorgeous.
I love to interject a thought too, Rebecca. It may be helpful if you ask yourself each morning, what can I do today to bring 10% more of who I am to work today? Right? What can I do today to bring 10% more? So you're not going to, right? You're not going to change everything overnight. It's not going to, just 10% more. And, you know, that may be, you know, whatever it happens to be for you, right? The way you reach out to people, the way you connect to people, the way you react to things, the way you decide to bring more joy to your work, whatever it happens to be that day. But what can I do 10% more?
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'd like to call on Katie Weissman. I love the idea that our to-do list should not be longer than we can achieve, right? We're big list makers, women. We love to make those lists and we keep adding stuff to it and then we can't get to all of it. So love that awareness that you're having. What's the thing that if you were to like just dissolve the to-do list for a moment, if you were to take it down to what's one thing that is the most important to you that would make you feel proud of how you spent this Corona time?
There are several sort of big picture items, but I just feel that I don't know how to prioritize those. And I'm probably a little too shy to share them in the forum.
Okay.
But it's hard to, I think, look at the big picture items when you do have the day-to-day that you have to go through. And I just remember, was it Michelle Prince, Lesley at Savannah, who was talking about that to-do list. And, she said to write down 3 things every day, because when you have a to-do list and you don't get to what you wanted to do, then you feel bad about yourself. You feel like, damn it, I didn't achieve what I was supposed to. So I find it super difficult to prioritize day-to-day versus big picture. And where do you fit big picture in the day-to-day? So I don't want my list of what I want to be proud of, AC, to be something that's overwhelming and that I can't achieve, and then will feel terrible about myself, as usual, when AC is over. I mean, when C is over.
Were you about to say something, Dana? If not, I'm going to hop in.
Go ahead, please hop in.
So the closer to farther from is actually a tiny snippet of a system that Dana and I teach, and it's way bigger, obviously, than we can get into in this call. But using a combination of, we call it a compass point. It's based on that ideal self. It's based on your values. That's really the pinnacle. Okay, that feeling state of who you want to be, of what you're of living your values is the pinnacle thing. And if you use the goals that you set for yourself, if you use that to select the goals that you set for yourself, right? Even the day-to-day things, because a lot of the things that we do day-to-day, we think we have to do, and tons of them we can let go of. So as you're planning, here are the things I need to, here's my day-to-day stuff, here's my big stuff. Challenge yourself to test it against, do these get me closer to or farther from this best version of myself? And then all of your plans kind of roll from there. It becomes like this rolling test of each action then leads to a goal that leads to this best version of yourself. So using those questions to help you prioritize. And then when at the bottom you've got 10 tasks to do, use that. Gary Keller's question is really an amazing tool to say, okay, which one of these, given my time, will make everything else easier in my day? And that helps you. You can use those 2 questions. Which one makes everything else easier or non-existent? And of all of these, what gets me closer to and farther from? The combination of those 2 questions, amazing in prioritization. And I'll share one more little thing with you. This is not mine. This is from Martha Beck. I don't know if any of you have read Martha Beck. I think 2009, she wrote Steering by Starlight. That's when I was transforming my own life, and I took so much from those words. And in one of her books, she talks about those shoulds and have tos, and those things that we think we need to do every day. And her test is bag it better it or barter it. So if you've got a task that is weighing on you, and I'm trying to remember her language. I think she defines the weight as shackles on or shackles off, right? If you've got a task that's really weighing on you, take a look at it. And the first question you ask is, do I really need to do this? Right? If it's taking out the trash, probably yes, because you don't want your house to fill up with trash, right?
I'm going to challenge that. You have kids in the house, Katie. They can do it.
Okay, well, that's the next one. That's the next one. You can't completely bag it. You can't say this task is not going to get done. The trash has to go out. So then, can I barter it? Can I give the work to somebody else to do? If you've got kids or you've got someone that you can pay or hire, barter it. Get rid of that task, get it off your own plate. And if those two don't work, if you can't bag it and you can't barter it, better it. Okay, and bettering it is looking at how can I set up my world so that this task that is difficult for me feels better. And for me, writing is a huge part. Creating content and writing is a huge part of my business. I hate writing. I hate it. I hate it. So I better it by, I've got a whole writing ritual. I meditate first. The lights go out. It's only natural light in my room. I have a certain kind of tea that I drink when I write. Like I ritualize it and I make certain scented candles. I ritualize writing to better it so that it becomes a part of my life that is more pleasant than it had been. So for those things on your task lists that are difficult to get to, give it a try. Bag it, barter it, better it.
Love that. Love that. I'd love to interject a thought too, Katie. There's a wonderful video out there, and I wish I could remember the name of the professor, but he's illustrating how it is that we can prioritize our time. And he has a big jug, and he puts in a whole bunch of small pebbles, right? Tons of small pebbles. And then he challenges the person to fit in the big rocks. And the big rocks don't really fit in because the small pebbles filled all the space. The small pebbles are meant to illustrate all those little teeny tasks that we have to do. Those big rocks are the things that are really important to you. So when you're doing all those small teeny tasks, the big things just don't fit in. But the flip is what he shows is that if you do those big rocks first, if you put those in the jar and you pour all the small pebbles in, all the big rocks and the small pebbles all fit in beautifully because the small pebbles kind of work the way around. And so you haven't shared with us what your big goal is, but it sounds like there's something that's important to you. I'd encourage you to think about that as your big rock and making sure you commit yourself to that first and trust that those small pebbles, those small tasks, those small things that probably take a ton of time throughout the day because they all do, right? All those things just add up. Those are going to fit in. The ones that are important, the ones that aren't, you probably can let go of, right? But fit that big thing in first, because my sense is that there's something that's weighing on you that really matters to you. I'd encourage you to focus on that first.
Okay, and we've got time for one more, and Andrea actually put a me in there, so let's call on Andrea.
I did it in 3 simple things. My big goal is I have literally probably 20,000 4x6 photos in my house. My dad was a professional photographer back in the days of double prints, and I have rooms full of people, camp pictures. The kids don't know who they are anymore. So I'm going to take a huge table and start lining them up. So that'll be like a huge accomplishment. But I kept waiting for a snow day, but it didn't snow this year. And then I've been trying to do my professional website, and it's one of those procrastination things because all I need is like 20 great points to put in. And my daughter is a professional writer and she's going to do it for me, but that's my stuck point. So one of you said it the other day, and I have to do that. And then what I'm really trying to figure out, which is what all these calls are about, but I have no idea how to do it based on anything I've learned, is what I really want to, kind of what Leslie's trying to teach us, what I want to do when I grow up. I love what I do, but I am like so over trying to figure out which brand may have an ad budget, may pull it because something went wrong, So there's something else hidden deep inside of me. I'm super compassionate and I'm super caring, and I'm not going to go back to school and become a social worker, but I got to find something that I can make a fabulous living for the next 10 years because I figured this way. I'm only 64 and people are running for president that are almost 80. So I have a good, 15 years of a good career ahead of me at least. So that's where I'm really stuck with all these tips, and I'm writing everything down. I'm on both your websites, and I'm like addicted to both of you, Wendy and Dana. I still haven't figured out how to go deep dive in my life and figure out what I want to be or who I am and that kind of stuff.
Well, we've got some really cool deep dive stuff that we can talk to you about offline. This is just these little tools are the tip of the iceberg
Very much.
of how you can reinvent and figure out what we want to be when we grow up. We've all done it, and you know what? We do it several times over in life, and isn't that exciting? On the Joan London talk that Lesley had the other night, she was saying, I've had many incarnations of myself, and her number one piece of advice is never stop planning.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
Grow old if you never stop planning. And I read a book a couple of years ago by a man named Ilchi Lee, and it's called "I'm Going to Live to 120 Years." And the notion of the book is that technically, scientifically, at this stage of the game, the human genes or the human body can technically potentially live for 120 years. Okay, so he just took it and he maxed it out. And the idea is our whole system right now, we're going to retire at 65, and was based on a different lifespan, was based on all kinds of different things than what we're really living right now. And yet we work, because then we're going to retire and put our feet up, and then what? Rot on a beach? So, I mean, I love the beach, but if you're 65 and you've got another 20, 30 years left, really you're just going to sit on the beach? No. The people who continue to thrive are the people who look at their lifespan and say, at 60, I'm at the halfway point, right? Once you start to see that, all possibility opens up to you, right? And life gets really exciting.
Thank you. And yes, Lesley, it's my favorite place, so I'm using my mug in your honor.
One thing I want to interject is I'm seeing some comments in the chat about continuation of these positive mornings. Lesley, I apologize if I'm stealing your thunder if you were going to share at the end of the call, but I want to make sure that we don't forget to tell you, we've decided that we're going to continue them on Mondays. So we're going to do Positive Mondays. Lesley will be sending out information for signing up for Monday. But we love this too, and we're so grateful that we can do this with you. So we do look forward to being able to see you again every Monday, and we'll see how long we can continue that. Obviously, we'd like to be able to be of service and be with you all, and honestly, this is beautiful for us too, So we very much look forward to it, and we're grateful for the time that we have together, especially during this challenging time. So
yeah, we are. So we have a new tool for you today and a little meditation to go with it before we wrap. And the tool is one that you've probably heard before. It's KISS, and it's Keep It Simple, Sister. Okay. And there are a couple of ways, though, that I want you to think about keeping it simple. We tend to overthink and overcomplicate everything.
so true.
Chip and Dan Heath did a ton of research and work around what makes change stick. And from the tiniest change in people's personal lives to change in municipalities and globally, what makes change stick? And it's always when the solution has not been crafted to be as complex as the problem.
I love that.
Okay, we've got this problem and it's very complex, and so we create this very complex solution. Too many moving parts, it doesn't work. So by taking the smallest little pieces, the Japanese call it kaizen, tiny acts to move toward a goal is one way to keep it simple. By looking at just one piece of a problem and attacking that to kind of level it up, that builds on itself. That's another way to keep it simple. And another thing that I like to add into this is what I call tiny acts of service. Sometimes when we're stuck in solving our own problem, undertaking tiny acts of service outward helps us to figure it out. We get out of our own head. We get energized by providing service. And I'm not saying martyr yourself and don't reach your goals because you're taking care of other people. I mean, stop and make a phone call, pick up a piece of trash on the, well, maybe not pick up a piece of trash on the street right now. That used to be my example. I guess it's not a good one anymore. Tiny acts of service can help to energize and move you forward. But in any problem that you're solving, keep it simple.
Love that.
Sister. Right. Okay, so I've got a little meditation for you today. And as always, I'm going to ask that everybody mute. And Marissa, if you're hearing me, and you can take a look at all the mics and make sure that you mute any that are not. Sometimes people walk away and we want to make sure we don't get interrupted. So get comfy in your seat and in your space. Go ahead and close your eyes and just start to breathe. Oh, we hold our breath when we're thinking. We hold our breath when we're concentrating. We hold our breath when we're afraid. We're none of those things right now. Right now, all we need to do is be. And so really lean into your breath. Feel how it nourishes your body. Feel how the natural inhalation and exhalation both fill and relax you. Let everything that's weighing on you just melt away, dissolve as you exhale. You can even visualize those things just flying out into the ether and then dissolving into nothing. As you're breathing, allow the walls around you to also dissolve. The space that you're in to completely go away. And feel the weightlessness of your body in this infinite space. That too is real. You are a part of this infinite space, but we're often blinded to it because we're surrounded by walls and trees and lakes and sky. But if we allow that all to dissolve, we can see that we're merely floating in this infinite space. Bring to your mind's eye that thing that you want most in the world. It can be small, can be enormous. The thing of your heart's desire, bring it into focus and allow the space around you to fill with it. See it clearly. Explore it. As you look around, know that this thing already exists in this space. It is already here. It's already yours. You just haven't been able to see it because of the walls. Bring your attention back to your breath, and as you breathe, breathe this new space, this thing that you've created in with you. Breathe it down through the crown, into your mind, into your throat, into your heart, into your belly. Feel the reality of its existence as you breathe in and out. Hold it within you and keep your attention now back on your breath, inhaling and exhaling. And when I count to 5, you can open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Namaste.
Lesley has her glasses on, so I know she's back with us. I always have to call on her. I think you
Wake up.
God, I could sit here for the rest of the day and listen to you. So thank you, ladies. And I just wanted to tell you how thrilled I am that we have all gathered here, and we will continue gathering on Monday mornings. We'll put the sign up out there. It'll be on the CoveyClub tab, which is Marissa will put it in the link here so you can continue, and we'll continue this as long as it's helpful for everybody. Bring your buddies, bring your friends. And then I wanted to mention that Wendy and I and Dana have really put our heads together for those of you who really want to tackle things during this disruption. I have to tackle how CoveyClub is going to be during this disruption and how it's going to be AC. Again, I call it DC and AC. Here we go. Before Corona, after Corona. And I think that little squeaking is a little frog, believe it or not. These little tree frogs that come up onto my window. So what we're doing is we're going to offer a new program, which is called, it's a mastermind called Navigating Change, Turning Life's Challenges into Extraordinary Opportunities. It's going to launch the week of April 13th. Since these are smaller groups, a lot of people have been asking me to do masterminds, and it was something I was looking into and really didn't know how to do it. And then Dana and Wendy, of course, know how to do it. So it will be 20 people. Sorry about the squeaking. We'll be there to coach us along. And it'll be 20 people in a group with group coaching from Dana and Wendy and support from your peers. There'll be tools and workbooks provided for every call to help you deep dive and apply techniques to your life and work. We'll be sending out details on Monday, but for those of you that are eager and want to jump on the opportunity, here's a link to sign up. Marissa just put that in the chat bar there. And she will also send an email, so you'll get that. You'll also be able to find it on our on the CoveyClub site. So where you go to sign up, you'll be able to, if you look at the, I think it's join or attend link, if you just follow that down where you see all these signups. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, Lesley, Lesley, at CoveyClub.com. And I just want to say to all of you, here is a big virtual hug. If we were together, we would hug each other. And I think we all need that. And I'm really grateful to all of you for coming, and for Wendy and Dana, and for our little, that's going to be our mascot.
Yeah, we have to give him a name, I think. He's really cute.
I love it.
So there he is. And thank you, and we'll see you on Monday. And I hope you'll all sign up for the mastermind. I think that'll give us a chance to really work. We have the time. Let's work on what's going to be next. And I think all of you have given me an idea. I think we have to get somebody to work on, or I will, how the workplace will be changed after Corona. I think it's going to be quite different. So, and I think we're all going to be able, maybe all of us are going to be able to bring our whole selves to work, whereas before we felt we could. Have a great
We
week
can.
and a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Hopefully, come join our meditation on Friday night, and come tonight to the stressful eating event. Bring your box of Oreos and a glass of wine. Take care.
It's 9 o'clock.
Thank you, ladies. Have a wonderful day. Stay healthy.
Bye all.